sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. May all be happy. May no one suffer from any disease. May all see only goodness everywhere. May everyone be free from misery. So the subject of my talk this morning is what I have learned in monastic life. And I've been a monk for 63 years as far as I remember. When I joined the monastic order, then I joined the Shillong ashrama in India. Ashrama means the what you call the Vedanta centers here. Those are called ashramas in India. So I joined the Shillong ashrama. And Swami Bhaskarananda ji was in charge of that center. But like all others, most other Swamis, he never thought that he was in charge. He thought that Sri Ramakrishna was in charge. And he was only giving his service to Sri Ramakrishna. So Swami Bhaskarananda ji was most probably in his late 50s or something. I am not exactly sure, but he had a smiling face. That's why some people of the state of Assam in which Shillong was situated, some of them used to call the Swami the Smile Maharaj. That means in their language, Hahi Maharaj, such as Swami Bhaskarananda. He had a smiling face, but he would talk very little, and he had led a disciplined life. When the buildings there in Shillong are of Tudor style, the floors are made of wood, so one has to be careful while walking on that floor. And otherwise some noise would be produced. But Swami Bhaskarananda would take care to create as little noise as possible when he would walk. And I had the good fortune to serve him a little. At the time I was a novitiate monk, a brahmachari. And then unfortunately, he had developed some trouble in his stomach, most probably a defunct gallbladder. And then so his diet was very restricted. So I would, as a brahmachari, I used to help in the kitchen work, among other things. And then his food was mostly boiled vegetables and that sort of stuff. And rice. So I'd bring that food to his room and give him that food. And his doctor had asked him to eat something which will have protein in it and which would not harm him. So the doctor asked him to eat rasagullas. I don't know from where the rasagullas would come, or some devotee would supply or something. And every day, at every meal, he would be given one rasagulla. And when I would serve his food, rasagulla would also be given to him. Then one day he said, if you eat rasagulla every day, then it will become tasteless. That's what he told me. Then he asked me one thing. The other day when I went to use the toilet, I saw that the bucket which is kept in the toilet, that was turned upside down, and also the mug which we use to put water for hygienic purposes, that was also turned upside down. May I know why you do that? Then I said to him, Maharaj, because that's how you would address Swamis. Maharaj, after coming here, I learned to keep the toilet and the bathroom clean from Swami Bhaskarananda, who was a Swami there. And then I thought, and there was no flush system in the toilet, in our toilet. So there was a little water tap, faucet, and one bucket which would be kept filled with water, and the mug, and which would be used to pour water on the body for hygienic purposes. And then a thought came to my mind, that our center is very poor. So if water be there always in the bucket, then it will become rusty. And so also with the metal mug. That's why I would empty them and put them upside down. So he asked me, why do you put, Swami Soumyanandaji asked me, why do you put them upside down? Then I told him, he said, yes, that is good, but you can do something better, and that will be a kind of silent service. You'll serve people, but they won't even know that you have served. That is the best kind of service that we can give. And he said, fill that bucket, empty bucket, with water to the brim, and also the mug also you fill with water. So the next person who would come, he would have to use your service, and he would not know that you have served him. Of course, only the monks would use. So he taught me how to give silent service. And the manager of that ashrama was Swami Gahananandaji. He was much younger, but he also taught me a few things. There was one day, this ashrama was poor, so the food was very simple. And one day, one of the South Indian monks, I think, prepared a South Indian soup called rasam. And he put some garlic in it. That was, at night we ate that, and rasam and rice, that was the food. And I had never eaten garlic before that. And that garlic sort of upset my stomach a little bit. That's why in the morning I didn't go to eat breakfast. And what was our breakfast? Breakfast was just Rice Krispies and water. And those who drink tea, for them, one kettle full of tea. So these were our breakfast. And Swami Gahananandaji noticed my absence because I didn't go to have breakfast that day. And he came to see me. And he asked me, how are you? And I explained to him why I didn't go and all. Then he pointed to my body and asked, whose body is that? I said, well, this is my body, Maharaj. Then he said, yes, it used to be your body. But since the day you joined the monastic order, it has become Sri Ramakrishna's property. When Sri Ramakrishna, as I have told you, we look upon him as God, and he is divine incarnation, and our order is named after him by Swami Vivekananda. So Swami Bhaskarananda ji pointed to my body and said, "This is no longer your body. This belongs to Sri Ramakrishna." Thus he taught me to use my body for the service of Sri Ramakrishna. And whether we know it or not, we are all his children. So any service given to his children, he would be giving service to him. This is what he taught me. This is called Karma Yoga. And it was very new to the order. And then much later I heard that one young man had come and joined our monastic order. And our order in India is called Ramakrishna Mission. And an elderly Swami asked that young man, "Do you know the name of the order which you have joined?" Then he said, "Yes, it is the Ramakrishna Mission." And the elderly Swami said, "No, it is not Ramakrishna Mission, it is Ramakrishna Machine." What kind of machine? Ego crushing machine. Ego crushing machine. Our false ego will be crushed if we remain in the order, and there is abundant scope for that. That's what that elderly Swami had said. Now I will tell you something which has relevance to what I have been talking about, because Swami Samyananda ji was very kind to us, and there was another brahmachari, his name was Ram Gopal. And Swami Samyananda ji had great respect for his Swami, whose name was Swami Premeshananda ji. And he was in Sargachi in Bengal. So he thought that it would be very beneficial for us to visit Swami Premeshananda, because when he was a young monk, he had been greatly benefited by his company. So that's why Swami Samyananda ji sent both of us to Sargachi. We had to go a long way by train, and eventually we arrived in Sargachi and met Swami Premeshananda. And we saluted him. After I had saluted him, he said to me, "May I ask you a question?" I said, "Yes, Maharaj, please do." Then he said, "Do you know where you were born?" Then I told him, "Yes, I was born in Shillong." Then he said, "Do you know how large you were when you were born?" I said to him, "I don't think I was any larger than an average sized baby." Then with his hands he showed me. He said, "Then you are this large, this small, and your body only occupied that much place." Then I had asked you where you were born. He said Shillong. Shillong is the city which is so much larger. Apparently you were not satisfied with your limitation, so you wanted to expand and include that city as your city. Then had I asked you the question, in which country you were born, then you would name India. That means at that time you expand much more. But we are the monks of Ramakrishna Order. We don't have to stop there. We have to expand and eventually include the entire world. That's what he taught. And after that, of course, we returned after 1 or 2 days to Shillong. Then I went on thinking, what did he mean by that expansion? Then I realized that the owner and the object owned cannot be the same. So I own my body, so I cannot be the same as my body. I own my senses, I own my energy with which I work, so I cannot be them either. I have to be different from them. I own my mind. I am the owner of my mind, so I cannot be my mind either. But somehow the idea of my individual existence is a thought of my conscious mind. That is the ego, I. I cannot be that I. That is the reason why there is selfishness in me. And selfishness in everybody because of that I or ego. As a child we are the most selfish. Gradually we start expanding our selfishness because we think we belong to a family. Then we think that we belong to a nation. Expanding selfishness. That Swami Bhaskarananda said that we should expand to include the whole world. Well, then I realized that selfishness is like poison. And potassium cyanide is a potent poison. And one spoonful of that will kill a person. But if that one spoonful of potassium cyanide be taken to one great freshwater lake and dissolved there, then if one drinks water from that lake, nothing will happen to that person because that poison has become diluted. If our selfishness can be diluted infinitely, then it will not be poison anymore. Then also, having been in the order, I learned that Swami Vivekananda was saying to someone, God is unselfishness itself. I realized it. And thanks to Swami Bhaskarananda, because he introduced that idea to my heart, and by thinking I could understand what he had been saying at that time. Swami Bhaskarananda. And I talked about Swami Gahananandaji. He pointed to my body and said, it is not your body, it belongs to Sri Ramakrishna, it belongs to God. Yes, if I think that way, then that is called practicing karma yoga. Giving selfless service to God. Yes, he taught me many years ago. And then I recall Swami Jyotisharananda. Once he came to us, and at that time I was a brahmachari at the training center for brahmacharis at our headquarters in Belur Math. Then he asked us about karma yoga. Then we told him that karma yoga means giving selfless service, and how we can do that. We can dedicate the work to God and then think that we are serving God and all this. Then Swami Jyotisharananda said, yes, that's all right, that is true. But you have to know something more. Then he said that when he was a student in a school, when he was going to the high school, he saw a dog lying on the sidewalk. Its body was covered with sores. Then when he came back from school, he thought he should help that dog. And the following day, he took some sulfur ointment which they had in their house. He knew that that was good for sores, and he took that ointment and applied that on the dog's body. And he felt very happy, thinking that he had done a good job. Then he went to school. But when he was returning after a few hours, he saw that the dog was very ill. It had vomited all over because it had licked, as is the habit of dogs, licked that ointment, and it went to its stomach and created problem. And eventually the dog suffered. Whether the dog died or not, I do not know. But Swami Jyotishananda said, simply giving selfless service is not enough. You should also know how to give it. How to give that service, that is very important. So this is what Swami Jyotishananda taught us. And I also learned about truthfulness by seeing the life of Swami Krishnatmananda. It is very strange that when some words would come out of his mouth, they would become true. And in our tradition, it is said that if a person is truthful for 12 years, whatever comes out of that person's mouth will become true. Where Swami Krishnatmananda was that way. He was at that time the manager of our ashrama in Shillong. Swami Gavanananda had gone to elsewhere at that time, to Calcutta on some other appointment. And then there is a brahmachari who had been given an old German camera by a devotee. And in those days cameras are not plentiful, and people would not take pictures with cell phones and all. We had to go to a photography shop to have our pictures taken. So the brahmachari was very elated that he had got a camera. She procured a film, and then he wanted to take our pictures. Then as a group, he made us stand as a group, and Swami Krishnatmananda was in that group. Then he started taking pictures of us. Then Swami Krishnatmananda said something, look if the pictures come out or not. I don't know, just a casual comment he made. But strangely enough, when the film was given to the photography shop for development, there was no picture in there. Everything was black, because this camera was old, and some inner lining of some black paper had obstructed the traveling path of the light through the lens. That's why there were no pictures. Even Swami Krishnatmananda, just casually he made that remark, and that came true. And I have seen other cases also about truthfulness. So I remember gratefully Swami Krishnatmananda and other truthful monks. And this monastic life is wonderful, because here nobody will compel you to tell a lie, unless you yourself do that. And I've been a monk for 63 years or so, and I'm very lucky, because I didn't have to tell a single lie during this period. And Swami Krishnatmananda, from him I learned. And Swami Bhaskarananda was General Secretary at our headquarters. And I was a brahmachari in the Shillong ashrama. But before joining the monastic order, I had worked as an auditor for some years in the government audit department, Accountant General's office. So he knew about it. So he thought that my presence in the headquarters office would be helpful, because I would be able to examine the accounts and could be helpful that way. So he asked for me. So I was sent from the Shillong center to the headquarters. And when I arrived there, Swami Bhaskarananda was at that time General Secretary. He was a very senior monk. So he had to find a table which I could use for my work. So there was a secretariat table with several drawers in it. And he came and he said, you will use this table. Then he pulled out the drawer. The drawers were all full of papers, personal papers belonging to the other monk who had used that once. And so that monk was transferred to Benares. And his papers were there. Then Swami Bhaskarananda said, oh, these papers should be taken out. And he sat on the floor and started taking out all those papers, putting them in a pile. I said, let me do it. He said, no, you don't know. Some of these papers may be important. And he took all those papers. And he sat on the bare floor. And he did all that to serve, to give me that service. I remembered that with much gratitude. And then such was Swami Bhaskarananda. He was a very humble person. And when we were brahmacharis, he told us, do you know when a monk is ill or well? I said, yes, when he has some disease, then he is ill. When the disease is cured, he is well. He said, yes, that you know, but you should know something more. Then he said, if you go to see the monk and if you see that the monk is so ill, the monk cannot lift his head from the pillow, then know that he is ill. But if he can sit up on bed, then know that he is well. He is not ill anymore. That means he taught us that we should not make it a very important point of discussion if we have illness. There are some people who love to talk about their illness with everybody. Since I came to this country, I've seen people asking others, how are you? I don't ask, how are you? I say, I'm happy to see you and all. Because if I say, how are you, then that person will start thinking of his problems also. And some of those problems may be physical problems. People sometimes love to talk about their bodies. Then we had a Swami in this country. I respected him, Swami Adisharananda. Swami Adisharananda once met a person. He was visiting some center here in this country. Swami Adisharananda is in charge of one center in New York. But he was visiting, as far as I recall, San Francisco Center. Then he was talking to a devotee. The devotee was in the habit of talking about his health and his illnesses and how he got cured and all. Swami Adisharananda heard that for a little while, and then he said to the devotee, may I request you to do something? He said, what? Please don't write your obituary before your own death. That's what he said. That is, don't talk about the body. yes, these are certain things which I have learned in monastic life. Bhaskarananda taught us. And he also taught us that is when you will become sannyasis, then you will be asked to give religious talks. And people will come to listen to your talks. But after your talks, if they say, that was a wonderful talk, don't trust them. In order to be polite, they give such talks. That means your talk should be your service to Sri Ramakrishna, not to people. Yes. And don't be eager to have praise. Don't be affected by people's praise after giving any talk. That's what he taught us. And Bhaskarananda's humility, I remember with great gratitude, with a feeling of gratitude. When the order decided to send me to America to serve the children of Sri Ramakrishna in this country, then I had to obey the order. But having stayed in Belur Math with those elderly monks, and so many of them were there, I used to think that if there is heaven anywhere, then that heaven was in Belur Math. That's what I really felt. But the order is the body of Sri Ramakrishna. So the order asked me to come here. So anyway, so I thought I should go. And then I had to take the flight very early in the morning. So the evening before that, I took leave of Swami Bhaskarananda. I saluted him. At that time, he had become the president of our order. And saluted him. Said, I have to go now and all. In the morning. Then it was early hours of the morning, and Swami Bhaskarananda had developed some eye trouble also. And in the darkness of the early morning, he came with his attendant. The attendant was carrying a light to help him walk properly. Then he came to see me off. How can I forget that? I was a very junior monk, and he was the president. And he came to see me off. And the cab was ready, and then I boarded the cab after saluting him, and then went to the airport with someone else who accompanied me. So such was Swami Bhaskarananda. That means his love for other brother monks. I noticed and I was impressed. That's why I also gradually learned to love my brother monks. Now let me tell you about a little bit about Swami Madhavananda. He also later on became, I think, president of our order. Swami Madhavananda was at that time the general secretary, and so then Swami Nirjarananda, who was at that time working in the Advaita Ashrama in Calcutta, he came to see him for some important official business. But Swami Madhavananda, that was after sunset, he would shut the doors of his room, and for 2 hours he would sit there and meditate. And Swami Nirjarananda came to him around that time. Then his doors were shut and he was told that Swami Madhavananda had been meditating inside his room. So he waited. When after 2 hours or so, Swami Madhavananda opened the door. Then Swami Nirjarananda, otherwise known as Mohit Maharaj, entered the room, saluted him and said why he had come. Then Swami Madhavananda said, "You came 2 hours ago and you have to wait for all this time. It is an important business that for which you have come. So, even if my door is shut, you should open the door. Because to me, there is no difference between work and worship." That's what he said. Work is worship. There was another monk named Swami Diptananda. To him also work had become worship. I saw him when I was in Belun Math. I was there for 12 years before they sent me here. And when we were brahmacharis, I was in Belun Math for 2 years. At that time also I saw him. He used to work in the flower room of the Belun Math temple. And he would prepare the plates of food offering and other things and water glasses that would be offered to Sri Ramakrishna. And very early in the morning, when there would be called a Vesper service called Mangal Arati, before that he would come and he would do that work. And after that, there would be worship at 11 o'clock. And for that also he would make all the preparation for worship. Then in the evening also there will be Vesper service or Arati. He would prepare everything for that. So most of the time of the day and the evening, he would be at the temple serving. He was Diptananda Swami, otherwise known as Prabodh Maharaj. And he'd get up very early in the morning and take a shower, and he would say his prayers and everything, and then very early in the morning, before sunrise, he would come to the temple to prepare everything for that morning arati called Mangal Arati. Truly speaking, throughout the entire day he would be doing this, and he would do that day after day, year after year. After so many years, the authorities thought that it would be nice to grant him some leave. So he was asked whether he would like to go and see his native village, which was in, I think if I remember correctly, in Midnapur or somewhere in Bengal. Then he agreed. Then he was granted a leave of vacation, so to say, for 1 month. And so Prabodh Maharaj and Swami Diptananda went to that village. And then just after 6 or 7 days he returned to Belur Math. Then he was asked, "Why have you returned so early?" Then he said, "I miss serving the Lord." To him also, work had become worship. Work is worship. The monks of the Ramakrishna Order, they give service thinking that that is the worship of God. So these are some of the things that I have learned in my monastic life. I learned much more, but what I have learned is to treat everybody as the child of Sri Ramakrishna. Here sometimes people came and asked me, do you miss India? Then I gave the honest and truthful answer, no, I don't miss India. Because wherever I am, that is the place of Sri Ramakrishna. And my home is not, or my center which I joined, that is not the place which is the only place where Sri Ramakrishna is there. He is everywhere. Wherever I am sent, I am in my family. That's what I think. So it is more than 40 minutes I have talked. Well, let me say a little bit about another Swami. He was in Belur Math. We called him Dwaroka Maharaj. I saw him when he was in his 60s or so. I am not sure. He was not young. And 60s or 65 or 70. And there is an outward courtyard in Belur Math. Quite large, all paved with bricks. And around that there are 2 or 3 buildings. In one building, at one time our president and vice president, they used to stay, and in the lower floor of the building was the building for office work of the monastery. That would be called Math office, and easily the manager of Belur Math would keep that office. And there are 2 or 3 other buildings also. And there are 2 big trees. And those trees would shed leaves almost throughout the year. The birds would sit on them and would defecate that courtyard. And Dwaroka Maharaj painstakingly used to keep that courtyard clean. Then since he was asked once, why do you do it? Then he said, I am like Shabari. There was Shabari, we read about him in the Ramayana. He used to wait for Sri Ramachandra to come. So I am also like Shabari. I am waiting here. This is the place of Sri Ramakrishna. He will come here, he will walk on that courtyard. That's why I keep it clean. So this is what Dwaroka Maharaj taught us. This place is clean. And I am in an ashrama in Seattle, and it was actually instrumental. Swami Vividishananda was instrumental in starting this center. And he said that he could see Sri Ramakrishna walking inside this house. Yes, he was a saintly monk, Swami Vividishananda. Such are the monks of our order, many monks. All are here to crush their false ego and manifest divinity inside their hearts. Thank you very much.